All right. Excuse me. Just this Yeti microphone. What is good, everybody? It is the godfather of VR, the ageless wonder. Jamal Adams, I just saw right there where you said YouTube won't let you say Coon's full name. What you have to do is spell it C00N. I found that out. Because the same thing happened to me. So originally I was putting C space O space O space N like that. But then I found out if you spell it like C00N, capital C00N. And there you go. So that's how you get around saying cool name and get around their spell check or whatever. Okay, so as I was saying, it's the godfather of VR, the ageless wonder, the man, Lincoln Clay, coming back at you with a live stream that, boy, I'm telling you, the wheels was like turning big time at work. And some of it was sparked by Phil Spencer's latest interview. I think Jay Barry said it best, that every time he does an interview, it's like a damn cryptic message, where you have to really dig deep into what he was saying. And I think Jay Barry also said it best, that every time he does a interview and you ask 10 people what their interpretation of that interview was, you're going to get 10 different opinions. And he's absolutely right, because the part about why exclusives aren't coming to the Xbox, I don't think he really to me he was like cryptic, political, evasive about that. More the kind of stuff that I caught was developers and like in so many, to paraphrase, like giving developers the opportunity to cast their net as far as they can and all this kind of shit, acting like exclusives are going to hold developers back. To me, it's just another way of saying that don't expect any exclusives. So they're third party now. They're third party. They just happen to give you guys a console. But they're third party first, and then in the console is just giving you a way to play those games. I still think, and I still think the Xbox Series X is kind of, designed to usher in PC with the Xbox community. You give them a console that looks like a computer, that has power within the general ballpark of a PC. And with it having the Xbox logo on it, like I said before, if it makes them feel like I think it'll make them feel like they have their very own exclusive Xbox PC. It'll make it a little more. Make it a little more easier for them to accept that they're not going to get, a lot of exclusives. And not only that, by them having their own exclusive PC that they think is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with real PCs, they might start beating their chest and think they can get in there with some of those competitive games and think they can take on some of the PC people. Coon, you said Microsoft is always cryptic, not just with Xbox. Yeah, when he was talking about Amazon and Google being his main competitors, already knew that he wasn't just talking about gaming. He was talking about the entire scope of those companies. He wasn't talking about gaming. He was talking about cloud services, not cloud gaming, cloud services in every direction. And then the part about except PC has VR. Yeah. And then as far as the PC part goes, when he talked about why PC isn't coming to Xbox Series X, I think it come down to a couple of things. One was that my original belief that when they had that partnership with Oculus, I think they kind of really wanted to do VR, but I think Oculus, I said it before, that I think Oculus is moving too fast for them. Um, and I got to try to condense this and explain this to you guys again, that Oculus had this Oculus CV1. They supported that for about, 3 years? Now the current headset that's out right now is the Oculus Rift S. And from our standpoint, the future of the Rift S is in limbo. Because we don't know, because now that Oculus came out with that Oculus Link cable that allows you to hook up your Oculus Quest to a PC and basically turn your Oculus Quest into a PC headset, now the future of the Oculus Rift S is like up in the air. So, in my opinion, if Microsoft would have went through with that partnership with Oculus, you would have put customers in a position where they would have had to keep buying headsets like 2 or 3 years because the CV1 has the external sensors, and it has an HDMI cable as well as a USB cable. So once they discontinued that, the only people on the Xbox that you would have been able to reach were the people that already had the headset. So then when the Rift S came out, if you wanted to reach new customers, they would have had to buy the Rift S. And that has a display plug at the end of it because they ditched the HDMI. It has a display cord at the end of it and a USB cord. So now you're telling people that they got to upgrade to the Rift S if they want to continue, if they want to get the latest hardware, whatever the case may be. And now that the Oculus Link cable is out, if Oculus discontinues the Rift S, like some people are wondering, again, you would have another situation that once the Rift S is discontinued, the only people you're going to reach are the people that already have the headset on your system. You're not going to reach any new customers. So I think it would have been a situation where within a 6-year period, you would have had to keep asking customers to upgrade their headsets 3 times. That was my way on it. That was my thought on the outside looking in. Now, as far as what Phil Spencer said, he said basically when it becomes a no-brainer, so he didn't totally rule out and say, no, we ain't never going to do VR. He was like, he hopes it continues to grow, and he hopes, and they'll get on board with VR when it becomes a no-brainer. In other words, when VR becomes so big that you can walk into a mine with an empty wheelbarrow and come out with a mountain of gold, that's when they're going to get on board with VR. That's when I feel that EA and Activision and other big AAA publishers would get on board with VR when they see that it's a gold mine. Right now, from their standpoint, it's probably more risk than reward, and even if they could profit from it, it probably wouldn't be worth writing home about. So, Kuhn, you said Xbox wants VR. They don't want to do VR. I don't buy that shit about Phil Spencer talking about nobody's asking for it, because from my perspective, 5 million people wanted VR on the PlayStation. Excuse me. Ew. And then right after Phil Spencer turned around and said that nobody's asking for VR, the developers of Flight Simulator, which is a Microsoft game, said that VR support is high on their priority list. So what I read into that was, if Microsoft gives them the green light, they will add VR support to it. Because that is a game that would interest me if it had VR support. Kuhn, you said right. VR is amazing and a game changer. Absolutely. So now, this brings me to kind of this. This brings me to like the title of this podcast, and that's like would we ever see a Madden or a Call of Duty on the Oculus Quest? I would think everybody's initial reaction would be like, hell no, you smoking crack. What are you talking about? But I'll get to, not only do I think it's possible that it could happen, but with the momentum that the Oculus Quest has right now, I think we would probably have a better chance of seeing a Madden or a Call of Duty on the Quest than we would PlayStation 5 or PC VR. I mean, so let's shift it back over to the PC VR and PS5 and PS4 side for a second. Right now, the way things are right now, some of the games that I've played, in some of the games, graphics wise, that I've seen, I think if EA wanted to make a Madden fully playable in VR right now, I believe they could do it on PC. Because over on PC VR, you've got graphics that are within the ballpark of current flat screen graphics. Now, granted, a lot of VR games have last gen looking graphics. But the best looking graphics in VR are on PC with games like Lone Echo. There's some other games out there with great graphics too, but I still think Lone Echo is the best looking VR game out there right now. And you guys heard me say that before. And you guys seen what Half-Life Alyx looks like. That looks amazing too. So those two games right there show me that as far as the graphics goes, if EA really wanted to on PC VR, they could do it, and the graphics would be within the ballpark of flat screen graphics. Because, you know, flat screen graphics, I believe flat screen graphics are always going to beat out VR graphics. I think that's just the way it is. You know, maybe in a couple of years I could be proven wrong, but in the current climate right now, flat screen games always have better graphics than VR. It's just the way it is. You want the ultimate proof of that? Check out Ace Combat 7 on the PS4. Now, the flat screen part of the game, the graphics look amazing. But as soon as you jump over to the VR missions, the graphics look like PS3 graphics. You know, and the most evident part of that is like when you're inside that hangar, when you're getting ready to choose your missions and all that kind of stuff, the guy that's walking around inside that hangar looks like something right out of the PS3. And then I think on the actual VR missions, when you're getting raised on that flight deck on the carrier for Ace Combat 7, I think the guy with the, where they give you the green light to go ahead and take off, that person looks like something out of PS3. So I think Madden on the PSVR, I think it would be so watered down. I think the graphics would be so watered down because of the limitations of the PS4 that I think it would probably look like dog shit. Or it would be a situation where, because of the limitations of the hardware, they would have to develop something totally different from the game, which in turn would cost EA money, which in turn they wouldn't do it. But I think that can change. Let me come back. Okay. But I think now, as far as PC VR goes and PS5, I think how much better that can get all depends on the PS5. Let me check something real quick. I want to make sure we're still active. Okay, we're still good. Excuse me. So as I was saying, how I think as far as like tethered VR headsets goes, how successful that is, I think a lot of it depends on the PS5. I've explained to you guys before that there's a lot of PSVR. There's a lot of VR games right out there right now that I don't. That I think the biggest reasons why they are not on the PlayStation VR right now is because of the limitations of the hardware, or maybe complications with trying to map out the controllers, to the PlayStation Move controllers. Now, when the PS5 comes along, you're definitely going to have that power. But what happens when PSVR 2 comes along? We get a different set of controllers with thumbsticks and that kind of stuff like everybody else wants. Will developers have a situation where they have to map out controllers for the new PSVR headset, and they have to still come back and map out controllers for those who still have the current VR headset for the Move controllers? That gets a little murky. Code Yogurt, what's up? Coon, it says, Lincoln, have you played Aspire 1 and of you having what is good or bad? I have Aspire 1 on PC VR and the Oculus Quest because that is a game that was cross-buy. When I first saw the game, it looked like something that I really, really wanted because the game has voice commands, and I tried it on both PC VR and on Quest, and I can see why the game got delayed because I think the game felt incomplete. The AI was stupid. I think the game had a little bit of a Splinter Cell theme because stealth is key with this game, to try to avoid being detected. And there was a couple of times where I got detected and I went and climbed back up in the ceilings. And when I climbed back up in the ceilings, the AI was so stupid that they didn't even try to zero in on my last known location. They just went back to walking around, with their normal duties. The controls felt wonky. The controls felt like they weren't optimized. So I don't think Aspire 1 lived up to its hype, in my opinion. But it did look like a game that had a lot of promise. And the way everybody was hyped for that game, I thought it was something that could be a Game of the Year candidate for VR. Would I recommend the game to you? I really don't know. And then the other thing, when the game first came out, the graphics didn't look as polished as I thought they would. Now, granted, they did send out an update that I guess was supposed to improve the graphics. When I took a look at it on the Quest, I didn't really notice, I didn't really notice any kind of optimization with the graphics, but I haven't taken a look at it on PC yet. Truth be told, because of how the game, because of the first impression that the game left on me, I haven't really come back to it, especially with all the other games that I've got. And I don't know if I will come back to it. So I'm not going to tell you the game is trash, but I'm going to tell you that, in my opinion, I don't feel like the game lived up to the hype. Because when we were seeing trailers for this game, it looked like it was going to be like one of the most anticipated games of the year, and I just don't think it lived up to it. So now, coming back to this situation with a Call of Duty or a Madden. Now, I've said this before, that I believe in order for us to get a Madden type game or Call of Duty type game on VR, I guess I should have been more specific when I was first saying that, and that's tethered VR, like on PC VR or PlayStation VR. I felt like the only way that it would happen was that it's got to go mainstream, and I felt like the best chance for VR to go mainstream is for Sony to continue supporting VR into the next generation, and if Microsoft would have got on board with VR, that would have blew the doors open in terms of revenue streams for EA and Activision. Because, you know, right now, okay, in the current climate right now, we got 105 million PlayStations sold, and you got what? We'll just say 50 million Xboxes out there, even though I think they might be lying about whatever the numbers may be. So we're looking at 155 million, you know, gamers on consoles, plus whatever the amount of gamers that might be on PC. When you look at that, then it would have been worth it, I think, for EA to take a chance on something like Madden, or Activision to take a chance on something like Call of Duty, because the opportunity for them to cast their net would have been so wide. You know, if you would have had 50 million potential customers on the Xbox and 105 million potential customers on the PlayStation, plus however many millions of people play PC. So, I mean, if you want me to just throw a number out there just to make my point, you know, if there's 50 million PC gamers out there, you have the potential to reach 200 million gamers if all these platforms support VR. So on that aspect, it might have been worth it for EA to take a chance. But right now, in the current climate, with only 5, you know, from the way they see it, I think 5 million headsets is phenomenal. But from their aspect of it, 5 million. What? Only 5 million, huh? You know? And I don't know what we got over on PC VR. I think PlayStation still has more than everybody combined. I don't know, you know, I don't know what the entire numbers are for 2019 on the Rift S. I don't know what the total numbers are on the CV1. But but the Rift S brought up the rear for Q4 of 2019 with 71,000 headsets sold. They brought up the rear out of all the headsets. So, do you see EA spending millions of dollars making a VR version of Madden for a possible 71,000 customers? Hell no. But the thing that really made me do some thinking, we all know that the Oculus Quest is on fire. You know, I've said that 1,000 times. The Oculus Quest came in second place in Q4 of 2019 with 317,000 headsets sold against 338,000 for the PlayStation VR. And I think the Oculus Quest would have sold more headsets than PlayStation VR in Q4 if they would have been able to keep up with demand. But they weren't. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the headsets that the PlayStation VR sold in Q4 was due to the fact that they couldn't get a Quest and they just wanted a headset so bad that they went over to the PlayStation side to get one. And I think if Oculus can keep up with demand, I think by this time next year that they could be sitting on anywhere from 2 million to 2.5 million headsets sold at this time next year. And I've also said that even though, supposedly, some other standalone headsets are supposed to be on the way that's going to compete with the Quest. Originally, I thought, hey, when these other headsets show up, they might give the Quest a run for the money. But after what I'm seeing, the other standalone headsets that are popping up, they're for enterprise use, and they cost an arm and a leg. And then, not to mention that even if they were for gaming, they don't have the library that Oculus does. So when these other VR, standalone headsets pop up, they're not going to compete with the Quest. So the Quest is going to be king of the standalone mountain for a few years. Atomic Wasteland, nope, maybe a smaller 5-on-5 co-op football game. Keep it simple, get the passing down and catching down. You know what? I should have ran the video of when I played Sports Challenge VR. because that's the game. That's the game that showed me that it can be done. A fully playable game in VR, a Madden type game, it can be done. Now, here's the reason why I say, here's the reason why I'm wondering if a Madden or Call of Duty can be done on the Quest is because of the mobile versions of those games. You know, we do know that the Oculus Quest has a mobile processor in it. And I would like to think that if they could port those games over to the Oculus Quest and just tweak it for VR, that, yeah, I think that not only could it be done, I think it could probably be cheaper and quicker to do that versus, you know, all this maneuvering they would have to do to accommodate PlayStation VR and PC VR. I watched a couple of videos of people playing Call of Duty, which I didn't know this mobile shit was big business. I didn't know just how big, you know, like Madden or Call of Duty is in the mobile space. So I watched a couple of gameplay videos of Madden and Call of Duty, and one guy that I watched, I think his name was JB something. I can't remember who it was, but he had like 2.6 million subs, and he was playing Madden, you know, mobile. And I was watching the gameplay because I didn't know if it was something where you could actually play the game or if it was going to be something like a point and click type of game. And no, he was actually playing the game. You know, you had the circle for your D-pad right here, so he's moving his fingers, you know, and then you had your pass buttons over here in the corner. And it was kind of the same way for Call of Duty. And then I went over to watch a video of Call of Duty gameplay of the mobile version of the game. And the person that I was watching, it was his first time playing Call of Duty mobile, and he had 3.6 million. So I didn't know that mobile gaming like that was big. So here's the thing. As far as first-person shooter goes, this year we're gonna get a few of them on the Quest. We're gonna get Pavlov, which is rumored to be free to play when we get Pavlov. We're gonna get Contractors. We're gonna get Onward. You know, we're gonna get the Population 1, the Battle Royale game, which basically looks like Fortnite in VR with better graphics, with more photorealistic graphics rather than this cartoon shit. But if Call of Duty, that mobile version of Call of Duty, if they were able to port that over to the Oculus Quest, that right there would be a system seller. Because even the casual gamers know about Call of Duty. And the current climate that I'm seeing, if I can use the Facebook groups that I'm part of as an example, the Oculus Quest continues to grow. I've said it before, these groups that I'm part of, one group has 33,000 members, another one has 20,000, another one has almost 5,000, and that's just 3 groups. And there's tons of Oculus groups out there with thousands of members. And every day I'm seeing videos, I'm seeing, posts of people. What's up, golfer? I'm seeing posts of people who are just now getting their Oculus Quest, and as you would expect, Beat Saber is one of the top games on the Quest, and I think the Oculus Quest is becoming a huge hit with women, because this is one situation where I totally understand. What I'm going to say. Now, I could put it in a way where it wouldn't be sexist, but I think there's a lot of people that want to be fit, that want to have that fit body, but they don't want to go into the gym and sacrifice all those hours, all those days. And I can understand that, because I've worked out off and on for 22, 23 years. And I didn't develop a love for the gym until like 8 years ago. And that's because I had to make myself like it. So I could understand where someone would want to get fit but don't want to sit in the gym. But games like Beat Saber, I'm seeing tons of stories by women how Beat Saber is allowing them to burn the calories without being in the gym bored to death walking on the treadmill for 4 hours. So with that being said, when we get those first-person shooter games over on the Quest, we are going to get another explosion. We are going to get another wave of people jumping on the Oculus Quest. When they find about, when games like Pavlov is not side-loaded, when they can go to the Oculus store and hit the buy button and get it right then and there, or especially if it's free to play, we're going to get a new wave of people jumping on the Oculus Quest. And that's one of my reasons why I'm predicting that I think they could hit 2.5 million headsets by this time next year. So when Activision sees that the Oculus Quest is a gold mine, if it's possible for them to port Call of Duty Mobile over to the Quest, I think they could possibly do it. And if they did it, it would be a system seller. I think this supply problem that Oculus has, they may never catch up. If a game like Call of Duty were to come to the Oculus Quest, they may never catch up with demand. And then as far as games like Madden coming to the Quest, I think that would be a seller too. I don't think it would have as much success as Call of Duty, but I think it would still be a system seller because when it comes to casual gamers, I think when it comes to casual gamers, I think the two games that they play are Madden and Call of Duty. With that being said, if those games were able to make it onto the chat, I think the Quest, it would be huge. So as I was saying, if they can port those games over to the Oculus Quest, those mobile games, I'm not saying build a game from the ground up because we know they wouldn't do it because it would cost too much damn money. But I think the mobile games, if they can take those assets and pull them over to the Quest, and the only thing they got to do is like remap the controls for those Oculus Touch controllers, I think everybody would be happy because they can make some money off of the Quest at a minimal cost. They wouldn't have to, build another game from the ground up for VR. We would get the kind of games that we were looking for. Cold Yogurt, you said there's still a little over 1% of VR users on Steam. Only media stars can push VR forward. I agree with that. But if you look on YouTube, you can see the way Oculus is promoting the Oculus Quest. When I watch videos on YouTube and I see all these damn ads, about half of the ads that I see are Oculus Quest commercials. So, getting celebrities to help push the Oculus Quest, yeah, that would help, but I think it's doing fine, just fine without them. Between the advertising that Oculus is doing, and then that's one of the things that I think Sony hasn't sold more headsets because I think they only did minimal marketing. I think if Sony would have done half as much marketing as Oculus has done for the Quest, I think they'd probably be sitting on 6 million headsets right now instead of 5 million. I don't see near as you said that's because of cookies in your browser. There's still a little I got lost in translation in there somewhere. But yeah, that's my reasons. I think especially on the Quest, if they can port those mobile versions over to the Quest, I think that would be huge. I think everybody wins if they did that. As much as I don't care for EA, as much as I don't care for Activision. And look at it. And when I looked at the mobile versions of those games, the graphics were actually pretty good. So, do I think it'll happen? No. Is it possible? Yes. But I think if it were to happen, it probably wouldn't happen for another year or two. Okay, I get what you're saying now, Cold Yogurt. It's because of your cookies in your browser. It means also, it means ads target your internet interest. Yeah, I get it. Because most of the videos that I watch, they're gaming videos, and I also follow a lot of VR channels. So I get it. But even with the explanation that you just gave me, Cold Yogurt, I still don't see near as many PlayStation VR ads as I do Oculus ads. So yeah, yep, I have Oculus ads too. Yeah. So that's what I think, that's just my belief that by them porting the mobile games over to the Oculus Quest, the reward far outweighs the risk, because I don't think it would be a situation where they would have to spend $50 million or something like that having to port these games over to the Quest. I would like to think they wouldn't have to build them ground up for VR. I would like to think that they just have to add VR support. I mean, look what they did with No Man's Sky, adding that VR support. What's up, chats? And I would like to think that with No Man's Sky, when they added that VR support, I would like to think that it didn't cost them a ton of money to add VR support to the game. Because if it did, who's to say that they could have possibly lied to us and say that there's two versions of the game, the VR version of the game and the flat screen version of the game, and then try to charge us for the VR version of the game. Just like what Bethesda did with Skyrim. But my point is that they added VR support to No Man's Sky. And like I said, if it would have cost them an arm and a leg to add VR support to the game, they would have tried to recoup it in some way, shape, or form. They would have tried to get that money back. And they probably would have tried to make us pay for it. And right there, in my opinion, they took a risk with No Man's Sky. So hats off to them. They gave us the VR support, and they added a whole new dimension to a game. Because I had no interest in playing No Man's Sky until it got VR support. And I think No Man's Sky, in VR, I think it's great. It's just that the game seems endless. So I've only played it a few times, because I already know that if I go play No Man's Sky in VR, I could sit there playing the game for 4 hours, and I'm not going to get any further than I did when I first turned the game on. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't been back to it. But I still like the fact that you guys get a full game playable in VR. Not the 3 mission shit we got with Ace Combat 7, and a complete game in VR. So No Man's Sky is worth its weight in gold. With that being said, to me that's proof that if EA and Activision wanted to go that route it could be done. I would like to think that they could take the mobile versions of Madden and Call of Duty and port them over to the Quest, which I think would be huge. So I think that's about all I got. But if it were to happen, I think if EA and Activision were to bring those games to the Quest or PC VR or PS5, it's not gonna happen for. I think it's not gonna happen for a couple years. But if it does happen, you just remember Lincoln was the one talking about it. Just remember, I was the one talking about the possibility of it. So, with that being said, let me check. Let me check and see if my son is still online because I might go over and play some Pavlov with him. Yep, he's still online. And I'm still having a ball with Pavlov. Both the Quest version of Pavlov as well as the PC VR version of Pavlov. I'm having an absolute ball with that game. Hell, when PS5 comes out, if they were to put Pavlov over on the PlayStation VR, I think it would do pretty damn good. Because I think Pavlov, I don't know what the situation is now, but I think one man developed Pavlov, and it is arguably one of the best games, first-person VR shooter games on PlayStation, on PC VR, and I think the game would do tremendous on the PlayStation VR. So, let me see here. A golfer got my deluxe audio strap Saturday, and it sure is nice, really comfortable, and sounds good. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll get around to that FrankenQuest stuff sooner or later. Right now, that GoQuest VR that I saw through Gamertag's video, I'm just waiting. I put in an order last week for a link cable and a gun stock for the Oculus Quest and Oculus Rift. And once I get those, and I see that this is all real, then I'm going to come back and order another gun stock as well as a Halo, headband from them. You said my Index can play a game and listen to a podcast at the same time. Damn. I mean, yeah, you can with these other headsets, you can switch over to YouTube and watch YouTube through those headsets. But to be able to play a game and listen to the podcast at the same time, no, I didn't know about that. That's pretty slick. So, as far as other shit, that this has nothing to do with gaming, but it still has something to do with the shit that was running through my head, because I had a lot of things running through my head today, mainly with this, with this Madden, Call of Duty thing on the Quest, the shit that Phil Spencer was saying, and then my roadmap for what I plan to do moving forward. This week I'm going to pay my Lexus off. I just don't want to deal with the car notes hanging over my head. The car payments ain't shit, but I'm going to pay the car off and get that shit from over my head this week. So, and it's going to be a big relief because, I had enough money to outright buy the car to begin with. But I took out a loan on the car to give myself a chance to recoup some of the money that I put down on the car. And I think all the overtime that I've been working went a long ways towards making that happen. So this week I'm going to pay that car off. So, Golfer, yes, and the bass sounds much better. You can adjust the location of the speakers so you can hear outside the headset sound, or make it close to drown out most of the outside sound. Okay. Yeah, I've heard about those. Oh, man. Okay, it this thing froze up here a second ago. Let me see what we got here, because my connection froze up a second ago. All right, we good. We're still live. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think I'm gonna go join my son, see if he wants to play some Pavlov here in a little bit. Boy, that game is so much fun. I can't tell you enough how fun that game is, and I can't wait to see the reaction that game gets once it officially, goes up, when it gets out of this side quest mode and the game is officially at the Oculus store for the Quest. I can't wait to see what happens with this game. I think this game, especially if it's free to play, I think Pavlov on the Quest, I think that's going to be another system seller. So, honestly speaking, the VR landscape right now, the way things are right now, games like Beat Saber appeal to women. And then the casual gamers, the male casual gamers, I think Madden and Call of Duty are the two games that appeal to flat screen casual gamers. But as they slowly start getting on board with the Oculus Quest and they start getting their hands on some of these first-person shooter games and see how interactive they are, it's going to give them a chance to play these first-person shooter games in VR for only a quarter of the cost that it would for them to spend $1,500 on a PC and plus another $400 or $500 on a headset. Because it is expensive. The PlayStation is like, if you want to play tethered VR, the PlayStation VR is your cheapest avenue into the VR landscape. Right now with the Move controllers, that bundle costs $350, and I think the standard PS4 costs $300 and $400 for the Slim. So you're looking at $650. If you were to go that route. But if you can catch them on sale, and catch the bundle, the Move controller bundle for $250, and catch the PlayStation 4 for $250 or $200, now you're looking at like $500, $450 to get into VR. That's your cheapest avenue right there. But if that stuff's not on sale, now you're looking at $650, $750 to get on board with VR. Again, with PC VR, I think at the very least, to buy a computer that's going to be able to push VR, you're going to spend at least $600. I think to get a PC that's going to give you good performance on VR, I think you're going to have to spend at least $1,000. And then as far as the headset goes, I think the Oculus Rift S would be the best bang for the buck for $400. So you would, in my opinion, you'd be looking at around $1,400 to jump into VR. But with the Oculus Quest, $400 and no wires, and you can take it with you anywhere you want. And I think it's going to be a lot of Call of Duty people that are some real military wannabes that when they experience Pavlov and Contractors and those kind of games, I think it's going to be a game changer on the Quest. I mean, I think this is an explosion waiting to happen. So with that being said, I think we boogie on out of here. And hopefully you guys got understood what I was trying to say about why I think it could be possible for Madden or Call of Duty to possibly come to the Quest. Hopefully I was making sense and it wasn't just a bunch of ramble and a bunch of mumble jumble. But hey, And Shats, you said it best. If you can find a Quest, yeah, they backed up till March. I think even if it wasn't for this coronavirus, I think we would still be backed up. So, but hey, I'm enjoying mine in the meantime. But I think that's about all I got. Guess anything else I can think of to talk about, I'll do it in another podcast. So it's only Tuesday. I don't work Friday. So even if I don't have anything to talk about, once I make a couple of moves and pay that car off, it's going to be a big weight lifted off my shoulders, and I'm going to be happy as a cricket. So I might even do a podcast about that. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate it. And I guess I'll see you guys in a day or so, a couple days or something when I do my next podcast. With that being said, I'm going to boogie on out of here and play some Pavlov. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate it. And we will see you guys later. Give you the deuces. My hands all ashy and shit from work, all dried out, but hey, that's the business that I work in.